Hello and welcome to another live ABRSM Trinity Aural training session, and this is the first one of 2019. Now I'll give you a while for you to join in, but the rules of this will be as they were last year. So basically what I want you to do is not go back to the beginning of the live stream because you won't be able to participate interactively. What we're going to do is do some live oral training, and you need to participate with the live chat that is on the side of this video or underneath the video if you're using a mobile. So my piano favorites has joined in, and Happy New Year to yourself too. Okay, now the format of this is that I'm going to play one piece right through the whole of the live stream but ask different questions about it. That is the method that was used in the Trinity oral training sessions, but we're going to use both Trinity and ABRSM type of questions. And as we did last year, the first thing I want you to do is just describe any notable features about the piece that you're going to hear. So, for example, you could talk about something very simple if you're doing a grade 1, like the dynamics or the articulation. But if you're doing something higher, like grade 6, 7 or 8, you could talk about the structure, the texture of the piece. Okay, so whatever level you're at, this first question should be appropriate for all levels. So I'm going to play you a little piece now, and I want you to just tell me any notable features. Okay, so that was the piece that we're going to use in this live oral training session. So, first of all, can you tell me anything that you noticed about that? Now, this is a grade 8 type of question, in the fact that you are not given specific questions on one of the parts of grade 8 oral. You are asked to describe from your own listening what you notice about the piece. It's more of an open-ended question. In the lower grades, you are asked specific questions like, what was the structure of this piece? What was the texture? What style and period did it come from? But in grade 8, you're expected to just come out with something yourself without a leading question. The examiner will prompt you if necessary, but it would be better if you could come out with something yourself. So we have 6 or 7 people on stream at the moment, and hopefully more will join as we get through this. But can you describe any notable features that you noticed about that piece I just played? We have a rather shy audience now. My piano favourites had joined us and also mentioned something in the chat. So, okay, Isabel. It has a major tonality. Very good, Isabel. Thank you for your first comment of 2019. You get a gold star for that. Okay, there was a major tonality. Okay, anything else that anybody noticed? I'm just looking at the chats that are coming through. Anyone want to discuss maybe the dynamics or articulation? Or maybe you would like to discuss the character of the piece, the style and the period of the piece. Okay, classical period ABA. Okay, we'll come back to that one later. There might be some variations on that answer. Okay, let's give you a little bit more of a leading question, okay? So, can you state the time signature? Okay, we've got another point here, doof star 007. It alternates between loud and quiet. Now that is a good point, and that might come into a future question. Now, can anyone tell me what the time signature is of this piece. Okay, how many beats in a bar? Is it 2 time, 3 time, or 4 time? That was the question. And that would be a grade 1 question possibly, but could also come up in any of the higher grades, because if you think of the grades 4, 5 and above, they will ask you first of all to clap a rhythm from the extract, and then you have to say whether it's in 2 time, 3 time or 4 time. Hello Deathmaster. And Jane Lorna says it's in 3 time, so well done Jane. Okay, now also you have to clap a rhythm, but I obviously cannot hear you clapping. So we're going to do something a little bit different. And this relates a little bit to a Trinity Style question, where you're given a printed copy and you have to, how can I say, you have to notice differences with what the examiner plays and what you hear. Okay? All right, now my piano favourites has changed his answer for a later question we're going to ask. Baroque period uses limited range in 3 time. Okay, so it is in 3 time. Now I'm going to play you a phrase from the beginning of this. And in an ABRSM exam, you would be expected to clap something like that. But in this live stream, can you tell me the time values of the notes? Now, I'm going to give you the first time value as a minim, okay? So we have a minim first. Then what are the notes that come after that? It might take a little bit of time to type them, so if you can go from one at a time. After the minim we have this is like a backwards type of question. It's not the same as you'd get exactly in an ABRS exam, because we can't do it on a live stream. I can't hear you clapping. But let's get busy with those fingers and start typing the time values of that phrase, starting with a minim, and it's in 3 time. We've established that. Okay, so butterfly wings now. Some very quick typing going on. After the minim there is a crotchet, 2 quavers, dotted crotchet. You're okay up to the dotted crotchet, so if anyone wants to copy and paste butterfly wings initial answer up to dotted crotchet, and then after that there are 3 more notes. What are the last 3 notes? I'll play it again for you. So we have minim, crotchet, 2 quavers. I'll play that little section. That's the dotted crotchet, and then this is something you've not done before in an ABRSM oral test, is it? But I think it's a very useful exercise, because if you can see a rhythm in your head and visualize the note values, then you would have a much better chance of being able to clap that rhythm back. So we're all being a little bit shy here, but maybe you're just busy typing and it takes a little while. As I said, you can copy and paste butterfly wings comment, and then add your own ending after her dotted crotchet. We're still waiting for a correct answer, but well done, Butterfly Wings, for your initial opening to that. If you just want to name the last three notes, okay, I'm going to give you 3 beats. 1, 2, 3. What were those time values at the end there? I'll play it one more time. 1, 2, 3. Now we have at least 12 people on stream at the moment, so either you're very busy typing or you're all very shy. So let's see. It's a pity I can't see. Like when you get on a WhatsApp message, you can see when someone's typing, but I can't see if anyone's typing at the moment, so I hope you're all very, very busy. But I can be patient. All right, this is the joys of live stream. Do we have anyone who's brave enough or fast enough with their fingers? Of course, some of you may have joined from not exactly at the beginning. Okay, Phoebe, quaver, minim, and then the last note wasn't exactly another minim. Now, if you think about it, that would take you across a bar line. So, well done, Phoebe. We've got minim, crotchet, 2 quavers, dotted, minim, dotted crotchet, quaver, minim, and then the last note is fairly short. Right, I'll put you out of your misery. It is just a crotchet. Anyway, we don't want to spend too long on that. Now, the dynamics and articulation. This is a grade 1 type of question, but it could be used in higher grades, and I'll explain that when we get to higher grades. Someone said earlier in the chat that there was an alternating between the loud and the soft, which is correct. Okay, and there were not any crescendi or decrescendi. It was just simple block dynamics. One block was loud and one block was soft. Now we have minim, crotchet, quaver, quaver, dotted crotchet, quaver, minim, crotchet. That is the perfect answer. So if anyone wants to compare when they go back and watch this video at a future time, my piano favourites, his last answer was the whole phrase, exactly correct. Okay, it is a bit of a mouthful to try and type all that out, okay. Anyway, so we're talking about the dynamics now. What about the articulation? Now, articulation means whether something's played basically smooth or detached, legato or staccato. And I think that's quite an easy question, and that's why it would be a grade 1 question, but it's a little warm-up as we get on to the harder things later. What would you say was the general articulation of this piece? Was it mainly played smoothly or was it mainly played detached? That's a slightly quicker answer to give. Let's have a little bit more quicker fingers typing away. Okay, it was legato. Yes, Jane Lorna, you got in there first. It was mainly legato. Okay, right. Now, someone also said it was major in key right at the beginning when I asked you for your general impression of the piece, okay? So can you think about the tonality again? Was it always in the major key or did it somewhere change? I'm going to play the whole piece again, and also at the same time, maybe you could think about any changes in tempo, the speed of the music. All right, so think about the tonality, major and minor, and the tempo. Did it stay major all the way through? Or was there any changes? Were there any changes? And were there any changes to the tempo? Okay, now Isabel's coming back with a major, then a bit of minor, and ending with a major. That's perfect answer. And what about any changes in tempo, the speed of the music? Did it stay the same speed all the way through, or were there any changes in the speed of the music? We're now going up to grades 2 and 3 sort of level. We're going through all the grades, so this oral training session will be useful for whatever grade you're taking. Okay, and don't think that the easy stuff is too easy if you're doing grades 6, 7 or 8, because some of these things can be used in your answers to some of the harder questions. Likewise, if you're doing grades 1, 2 and 3, as we get on to the harder questions, they can still be quite useful, because hopefully one day you'll be progressing through the grades, and if you can train these skills early on, then all the better for you in the future. All right, now, a bit of a writ towards a section change. It was slower at the end. Yeah, it slowed down at the end. That's correct. Right, now, let's go on to a grade 4 style question. And the question is, describe the character of the piece. Now, that is sometimes a little bit of an ethereal type question. What does it mean by the character of the piece? I want you to think of what mood it creates in you, and then talk about any musical features that give the piece that particular character. So for example, you could say it's a happy piece and that was created by a major key in a fast tempo, or it was a sad piece which was created by a minor key in a slow tempo. Those are very basic answers. All right, listen to it once more and understand what mood, what feeling it creates in you, and then describe the character of the piece and what musical features give the piece its character. Okay, so how would you describe the character of that piece? What mood did it create? Okay, Isabel's got a good answer here. The piece gave you a happy feeling during the major tonality. The dynamics gave character to the piece as well. Okay, the dynamics gave character to the piece. What character? You need to be a little bit more specific in an exam situation. Yeah, the dynamics gave it character. And you need to elaborate a little bit further on what character it gave it. So could you go a little bit further with your answer there, Isabel? Okay. I do agree that it was a fairly bright character, wasn't it? The major tonality did that. Now, there's something about the time signature that we already talked about at the beginning. It was 3-time, and a little quick trick you could use in your exams. If you hear anything in 3-time, okay, I'll just read out this answer. Makes it sound melancholy in the middle as well as the dynamics changing. Okay, yeah, because that bit where it was melancholy, a little bit sad, the minor key, that has a sort of a piano effect, if I remember. Yeah, when we went to quiet, no, actually it was actually quite loud there, wasn't it? That minor section wasn't particularly quiet, but anyway, yeah, there was a slightly melancholy sort of interlude in the middle of the piece. Now, right, there's the word I was looking for. My piano favourite said, poetic dance, stately. as repetitive and change in mood towards the end. Now, the word he said there, dance, 3-time, very often gives the piece a dance-like feel. Okay, it could be a slow dance, and this piece isn't particularly fast. It's marked andante, at a walking pace. So a stately dance. All right. So a really good answer could be, when you're asked to describe what musical features give this piece its character, you could say that the slow 3-time time signature gave this piece like a stately dance-like character, and that would be a perfect answer. Okay. Now, at the beginning, my piano favourites said that this piece was classical, and then he changed his mind and said romantic. Sorry, not romantic, sorry, baroque. Okay? What period do the rest of our audience think this piece comes from? And can you give any reasons why? All right, I think you did mention a few reasons when you said baroque afterwards. You said something about limited range. Okay? Let's have another listen and see if you can identify what period of music that could be: baroque, classical, romantic, or contemporary. We can't say 20th century anymore because sometimes there's 21st century music comes into pieces. But anyway, which of those 4 periods? Okay. Now, I've got some, right, Jos Pepi. Sudden dynamic changes, not gradual like romantic, makes it sound baroque. Okay, so in the baroque periods, we say that dynamics are terraced. That means they have changes suddenly. There's not very much use of crescendo and decrescendo in the baroque period, although some performers play around with their interpretation a little bit, and occasionally you will hear that. But generally in the exams, I think you'll find that sudden dynamic changes without crescendi or decrescendi will be from a baroque period. Quite a bit of repetition, echoes, and lack of many leaps throughout. Baroque from Isabel, not many ornaments. There were some ornaments. There were quite a lot of these little mordants, which is a typical sign. It's quite heavily ornamented usually, baroque music, but yes, it was ornamented. Okay, simple dynamics, as we've said, the terrace dynamics, and there was something else that's probably more of a baroque style of piece than the classical or the romantic. But I think we'll come to that maybe in a later question when we talk about the texture of the piece. Okay, now, actually let's do that now. In, I think it's grade 6 or 7, I can't remember now. Yeah, grade 6, yeah, you have to talk about the texture and the structure of the piece. Now, the texture is like a horizontal slice through the music, and you're seeing how many voices and how the voices interact with each other. Very often music can be just block chords, where you have a simple tune and an accompaniment. And sometimes that's referred to as homophonic music, one sound. Right? The parts don't work independently. They're just, how can I say, one just relates to the other in the same rhythmic patterns. That's homophonic. Then you have polyphonic music. Now, polyphonic music is many sounds, where the different voices work independently, especially rhythmically, and they have like a question and answer imitation effect. Okay, so could you state whether the music in this piece was homophonic or polyphonic? Was it like block sounds with one sound really basically all the way through, or was it many voices interacting with each other? Okay, Jane Lorna is saying it's polyphonic. So if you were asked to describe the texture of the piece, you could say it's polyphonic. Now, can anyone be really clever and say how many voices they could hear? I'll play you a little bit of it again until we get an answer. I'll keep an eye on the chat at the same time. Just the first phrase should do. How many voices can you hear there? That creates a little bit more. 2 or 3, well, hedging your bets there. Again, just happy, 2 or 3, not 100% sure. I'll give you another play. Can someone commit to either 2 or 3, not give me a double answer? And cheating, really. Thank you, Isabel. You were brave enough to commit to an answer, and it is 3. Well done. Okay, so there are 3 independent voices working in a way which we call polyphony or polyphonic. Okay, now what about the structure of the piece? Now, we talked about texture being a vertical slice. The structure is how the piece is put together vertically, how the sections, the phrases relate to each other. And I think it was piano favorites. Yes, you were saying earlier about ABA or something. And that's sort of like what we're after with the structure. Okay, so let's have a listen to the whole piece, because you can't really answer this question without thinking about the piece in its entirety, how the different sections relate to each other. All right, how many different sections can you hear? Okay, right. AB binary is the correct answer. Yeah, not ABA, because we don't really get a return to the opening section. But in the first half of the piece, the A section, there was something quite interesting going on. How many phrases were there in the opening section? I'm going to just play the first half again. I want you to tell me how many phrases there were, and maybe you could work out how long each phrase was. Now that's a little bit trickier, but see how discerning your ear is. And that's the A section. So how many phrases were there in that A section? And what is the relationship between the phrases? How many bars were they, each one? And was there any similarities? That's a little bit more demanding for an answer. Okay, we've got some people that are answering quite regularly. Isabel, Jane, Jos Peppy, my pen of favourites. Who is going to be brave and tell me how many phrases they heard first of all? It doesn't take a lot of typing to just type one number. So come on. We're still... right, okay, Jos Pepe. I think 2 main phrases, each echoed. So 4 bars in total. Okay, well, my co-host is just moving around behind me. Hello, doggy. Right, have a listen to this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. How many bars were there? That's the first phrase. There are 4 phrases, yeah. And how many bars in each phrase? This is actually quite an unusual phrase structure because very often a lot of music follows a different length of bars for a phrase, but in this piece they're sort of a little bit unusual. 3 bars each, that's right, Jane. Okay, so you had 4 phrases of 3 bars each, and they were all very similar. They started off with the same phrase there, the second phrase, third phrase, and the fourth phrase. Okay, and then it varied in the second half of each phrase. So that is a more in-depth analysis of the structure of the piece. Now, in an exam, they could ask you, okay, they might say, how long were most of the phrase lengths, or how many phrases were there in the A section? So be prepared for a question like that. Okay, now, we're going to do some sight singing, but I can't hear you sing. So what we're going to do is reverse sight singing. The principle behind being able to sight sing is hear notes in your head as you see them, all right? But if you can name an interval, and in that case, name what the notes are without being able to see them on the page, you should be able to reverse that and sight sing them. So I'm going to play you that first phrase again. Now the key is F major, so we have B flat key signature. And it starts on an A. And now I'm going to hide my hand just in case anyone might be tempted to just look at what I'm playing and then say what they see, but I want you to say what you hear. So I'm going to hide my hand and then play you the first phrase. The first note is an A. And we're going to try and work out the rest of the notes in that phrase. Okay, so here was the A. We can do them one at a time. Then we're going to this note. Who's going to get the gold star for the first correct answer? There's an A. The second note is a... Any offers now? It's not an E, sorry. It's a D, yes, it's an interval of a fourth. Okay, the interval of a fourth is easily recognised in the Mozart eine kleine Nachtmusik. Alright, so we've got A, D, and then you should be able to do the next 2 notes together. What are the next 2 quavers there after the D? Yep, Wedding Piece. Alright, there are lots of tunes that have intervals of a fourth. That's just one example. Right, now we need to get confusion, get rid of the confusion, because some people are answering the last question. We've had the D already. After the D, 1, 2, D, and then what are the next 2 quavers? So that I know you're answering that question, can you write 2 answers there? What are the next 2 notes after that D? C, D, right. So we've had A, D, C, D, and then the dotted crotchet that we identified earlier. What's the one after the C, D? 1, 2. It's not an A, unfortunately, because the A would be the first note of the piece, wouldn't it? There's the A. And we played this one, which is slightly higher. Well, yeah, A sharp is the enharmonic equivalent of it, but B flat is the correct way of describing it because we're in the key of F major. As I said at the beginning, B flats are in the key signature. All right, so we've almost finished. There's 2 more notes to finish it. No, 3 more notes to finish it off. So let's play the phrase again, and then maybe you could just name the last 3 notes altogether. They're quite simple. And here they are. Okay, I'll play it once more, the last 3 notes of that phrase. We've got up to a B flat, A, D, C, D, B flat, and then these last 3. After the B flat, what are the last 3 notes? I think Isabel's just given us A, G and F. That's correct. So well done, Isabel, you got there first. Unfortunately, some people have a faster internet connection, or maybe they got faster fingers typing. Doesn't mean they're necessarily better at oral, but all the same, you got there first, Isabel, so the gold star for you. Okay, now, where's my list of questions? Okay, modulations. Now, a modulation is a change of key, right? It's not just minor chords suddenly in the middle of a piece, because lots of chords will be naturally minor anyway without changing key. But when you have extra accidentals added that are not in the key signature, it creates a new key completely, and that's called a modulation. All right, now we could have modulations to the dominant, the subdominant, the relative major, or the relative minor. Now, you can only have a relative major if you start in a minor key, and vice versa. You can only have a relative minor if you started in a major key. And this piece, I think we've worked out already, was a major key. All right. So what is the modulation in the 3rd line? The options are modulation to the dominant, modulation to the subdominant, or modulation to the relative minor. Okay? The third one of those 3 options I gave you is probably the easiest to recognize because there is a change of tonality, a change of major and minor feel. The modulation to the dominant usually stays in the same tonality but just raises up a little bit, and subdominant goes down a little bit. Okay, the correct answer from Jane was first this time, is the relative minor. Now, as I was saying before, that note down there is foreign to the key that we had. It should be a C. But the C sharp, you don't get that in the key signature of F major, all right? And that foreign note changes the key of the piece completely. So that's why it's called a modulation. And you're right, it is to the relative minor. Now, we're going on to the final part of this training session, which is about cadences. Okay, cadences are the chords you get at the end of a phrase that either make it sound finished or what we could call half finished. Okay, and the cadences that you might get in grade 6 would be perfect or imperfect, and adding things like a plagal cadence in grade 8 or an interrupted cadence in grade 7. So we have 4 options if you're doing up to grade 8. Perfect cadence, which sounds finished, an imperfect cadence, which sounds unfinished, an interrupted cadence, which sounds like it was just about to finish and then changed key suddenly into the other tonality, or the plagal cadence, which sort of sounds finished but in a softer way. Okay, now I'm going to play you a cadence at the end of the second line. What sort of cadence was there? All right, was that a perfect, imperfect, interrupted, or plagal cadence? I'll play it again. Did it sound finished, unfinished? Was it about to finish but then changed tonality, or changed into a different key completely, or was it finished but in a softer way? Now, Isabel's going for an interrupted cadence. If that were the case, the last chord would have been minor. That is still a major chord, so we think we're going to rule out the interrupted cadence. Sorry, Isabel. Any other offers? All right, it finished in a softer way, but not sure which cadence that is. Okay, now, did it sound finished though, or did it sound like it needs to go on? Could the piece just stop there? Okay, Jane is suggesting an imperfect cadence, and that is the correct answer. An imperfect cadence, yes, Isabel, you're correct now. All right, an imperfect cadence is one that is like a comma in a phrase, right? You pause off for a breath in the middle of a phrase, but I can't stop there, can I? I can't just stop in the middle of a phrase. You need to carry on, and in music that's called an imperfect cadence. Okay, it needs to carry on. Have another listen to it. There's something else to follow, which is called an imperfect cadence. Now, those of you who have done a little bit of theory maybe might know what chords are used, or what has to be the last chord of an imperfect cadence. The chords you might have are chords 1, 5, 4, 6, 2. There are lots of different chords. Now, I'm not sure what levels you're all at, but could anyone identify the last few chords of that piece? Now, I'm just going to play them as chords this time, not so much as single notes. In fact, let's make it even simpler. Okay, now 5 is the last chord, Jos, Pepe, all right? In an imperfect cadence, we always finish on a 5, but what is the chord, the two chords before it? It might be helpful. Okay, let's do this differently. Can you name the bass notes of these three chords? Now, here is your F major triad. Okay, here is a key note of F, or if you like it down the bottom, because we're thinking about the bass line. All right. Now, what is the bass line? I'm playing it a bit louder there. What note is that in the bass? That's quite tricky. But this is part of what you'd need to be doing for grade 8 oral tests. Here is your key chord again. There's the bass note F. How many steps do you have to go up to get to this bass note? It's a B flat. Well done. And therefore you should be able to name the chord. B flat is chord 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Don't really bother with 3 and 7. Actually, I shouldn't have said 3. But 1, 2, 4, 5 or 6. What degree of the scale is B flat, for example? It's not too tricky a question, this. Just count up from the F until you get to a B flat. Bom, 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 bom. Yeah, we've got a B flat already. But what chord is B flat? It's chord 4. Right, so we've identified the first chord and the last chord. Now we need to do the one in the middle. Okay, so here is the B flat chord. Now what happened to the bass there? What note did it go down to? Yeah, it's chord 4 for the B flat chord. What happens to the bass line? It's on a B flat. What note do we go to there? And not down to G. A. That's it. It goes down to a note A. Now, in grade 8, just get my syllabus here. There is a whole list of chords that it could be. All right. So it says to identify the cadence at the end, and you need to identify 3 chords, which could be the tonic, that's chord 1, in root position, first or second inversion. Supertonic, that's chord 2, in root position or first inversion. Subdominant, dominant, dominant 7th, or submediant. So there's lots of different variations, or if I put them in Roman numerals, that's chords 1, 1B, 1C, 2, etc., 4, 5 and 6, all right? But you don't have chord 3. Now, A is the 3rd degree of the scale. Jos has already told us that it was the note A. It drops a semitone is correct, yeah. So if it's dropping down to an A and we can't use chord 3, it's not one of the options, it must be an inversion of a chord. Now I'm going to give you a little bit of a theory lesson here very quickly, all right? C major is C, E, G. That's what we call root position. The same notes with the E at the bottom is still chord 1, but we call it chord 1B, or in first inversion. And then if you put the G at the bottom, G, C, E, it's the same chord again, but with the G at the bottom, so we call it 1C, or in second inversion. Now, what chord, we're in F major, has an A at the bottom? After you think about a bit of theory here, chord 1C, Jane, would be a C at the bottom, because chord 1 is F, A, C, all right? And C is the second inversion, so it's not the F, it's not the A, it's the C at the bottom. And that would be chord 1C. So it's chord 1B, that's the correct answer. So our final question, the answer is 4, 1B, 5. Sorry. And there we have our cadence. That's quite tricky, and that's grade 8. But to train yourself now, even if you're not doing grade 8 yet, is a good plan, because hopefully one day you will be going on to the higher grades. We will be doing another one of these oral training sessions next month. I haven't decided exactly on the date, but I think in the top corner of this video there is a little card. Let me just see if my mouse is working. If you go with your mouse up to the little information thing, and there is a little eye there in the top corner, which takes you to my my website, where you can keep at tabs on when the next oral live stream is coming up. Okay, so you click on that and it'll take you to the website and all about the eOral trainer, the different videos that are available, and also at the bottom of that page is a link to when the next live stream is going to be, so that will be posted in the next day or so. But I would like to start something, and I'm not sure how many people would be interested. Put in the comments below this video now if anyone would be interested in some theory training videos, because the theory exams recently changed this year. Okay, and the ABRSM published some sample papers, and I could go through some worked examples of the past papers. So please put in the notes below, the comments below, if that's something you're interested in. You could put it in the chat, yes, but also what grade, because I mean I want to be able to help you the best possible. And if everyone's doing grade 5 and I do a grade 1 paper, that's not going to be so much use for you. Or if everyone's doing grade 1, and I do a grade 5 paper, likewise, that's not going to be so much use for you. So, okay, Jos is saying grade 5 theory. If you're watching this video after the live chat has finished, you can always put your preferences in the comments below this video, all right? The normal comments, not the live chat. But the live chat will be there for everyone to see in the future when this video gets published. So all your answers, correct or otherwise, will be there forever. But thank you all for participating, and I'll see you all in a couple of weeks, either for a theory video. I think it will be a theory video in a couple of weeks, which will be, what, the 27th of January? About the same time as today. And then you can ask your questions about the theory exams that we're doing as well on that particular occasion, okay? And then there'll be another oral live stream in February, I think, at the beginning of February. So, as I said, thank you very much for watching, all of you, and I'll see you next time. Well, bye for now.